So we're going to go in and check out our 60-inch corn. Out here around the edges is all 30-inch. Then in a bunch of rows we have some 60-inch corn. You've been wanting an update on that. And honestly, I haven't checked it for a little bit, so I kind of want to go see what it looks like. So we're going to go out through the corn and see what we can find. So here we're in the 30-inch corn. There was no fungicide applied in this part because I wanted to compare the 30s and the 60s without fungicide just to see if there was a difference. And looks pretty good. We've had some favorable rains. Probably the last significant rain we had was 2 weeks ago, I think. But there's still a good amount of soil moisture, I think, to be able to finish this crop out. So we'll go over a few rows here and find some 60-inch. We're out here where the cover crop is, and there is some cover crop here, and not as much growth as I'd like to have seen. Here's some buckwheat. These are the black oats. A little clover. Not quite what I'd hoped for. The ears appear to be a little smaller. It might not yield as much as the 30-inch, probably not, but I mean, it's healthy looking. I think if I had a better cover crop, it would make it more worthwhile so that we could get the grazing benefit out of it. It's probably something we'll try again on a small scale just to see if we can tweak it a little bit and come up with some kind of economic advantage. And if after a few years we don't, well, then we'll throw that in the trash bin and just go back to what we've been doing. There are a lot of ears here, but they're not real big. So let's go over a few rows into the 30s and see what that looks like. So in my right hand here is the 60-inch corn. Left hand is the 30-inch. So you can see the girth is about the same. The 30s is a little bit girthier and it's filled to the tip. So it's definitely going to make some more corn than this. But we'll see what the actual yield difference is. We'll have our monitor calibrated and everything and make sure we get an accurate representation. I'm always that curious guy that tries, well, probably too many things, but anyhow, it's boring if you never try something new, and I don't want life to be boring. So besides that, it keeps my neighbors guessing. Look at the outside rows. It always looks better. They get more sunshine, and so the ears are bigger. So it's a nice girthy ear here. You know, once you get in the field a little bit, it's not quite as much, but you know, we'll just see once we get the combine rolling here. Let's see, probably about a month and a half we'll be out here picking this corn. While I'm out here, there's this gate that doesn't belong here anymore since we changed the fencing, and so I'm gonna lift it up here on the Defender and have Mama D grab onto it and hold it so we can take it back up to the barn. So we're gonna get to see her muscles here. This is one of the soybean fields where we planted and then we let the rye grow up and then we rolled the rye. This field was actually the one that got planted April 3rd and was coming up right when we had that May 15th hard freeze. I think it was 28 degrees for like 5 or 6 hours, and well, a lot of those beans didn't make it, so we came in with some more beans to thicken the stand up, and they look really good. I mean, you can see there was some weed escapes that came through the rye, but for the most part it doesn't look too bad. So we can look down in the canopy here. Yeah, these beans are loaded with pods. You can see a lot of pods. And down here is the thatch from the rye. And I can dig my finger down here in the soil just a couple inches, and it's just got that nice, cool, moist feeling. Even though we haven't had rain for a couple weeks, but we've had heavy dews at night, so there's still good moisture down here. It's got that healthy smell to it. Nice, crumbly, moist soil. You don't want your soil to get too hot, because if it's bare, it can get hot, and that bakes the soil, and then the soil microbes begin to die off, because when I don't remember the exact temperature, but when it gets above a certain level, you start to lose life. But if you keep it cool like that, the microbes stay active, and it's really healthy to keep everything working well. I didn't count this plant. I pulled one from another field yesterday. One plant had 90 pods on it. That's a lot. So we'll see how that translates to yield. So this is another field where we didn't get quite as good a crimp on the rye, and I think it was a little thinner. And you can see the end rows. We've got some weed pressure on the end rows. Not significant, but enough to be annoying. And you can see here's some rye standing. Now, this particular rye head doesn't have any viable seed in it, but some of this out here does. So therefore, I'm not going to be able to plant wheat or oats next year because they'll be volunteer rye. So we're just going to lay off the wheat and the oats for a couple years, or for at least a year, till I make sure it's under control. You can see some of the weeds, but I mean, overall it's decent, but the program needs some tweaking, definitely. But I will say most people's fields around here have some weed pressure this year. It just seems like it's kind of building and building. So this isn't significant, but it's more than what I like to see. But there are some healthy beans out there. I mean, you can look at the nodules. We got some little nodules on there, and there's nitrogen fixing bacteria in there. So those are little pink nodules. That means they're working. So yeah, there's significant, these are already filling nicely. There's a lot of beans already in here. This is my earliest variety that I'll combine, is right here. 66 pods on this plant, and it's looking pretty good.
All right, y'all. So now it's time for an update on the garden. And we have the green beans, 3 rows of green beans. In this past July, we had 6 or 7 inches of rain. Often it hardly rains at all in July, so everything has been growing like crazy. Some of the tomatoes have been splitting on the bottoms. That tomato right there had a split on it because it's so moist that there's so much moisture and they're bursting out of their skins. Because it was so wet this year, the onions, we had quite a few of them rot because it was so wet and so weedy.
So right now we're digging up potatoes. You can see, here's the seed potato. It's funny, usually it rots, but these, they didn't even rot. Pretty fascinating. And then there's some potatoes on there, but that's the seed we put in the ground.
These are the zucchini plants, and they have gotten really, really large this year. And so to pick zucchinis, you just go in there and look. The zucchini plants are so large that the zucchinis are actually hard to find in them. And so we had a volunteer plant pop up, and since we didn't have a whole lot over here, we just left it. And it turns out that it is a little gourd plant with pretty white gourds with warts on them. So this is the second zucchini plant. This one is not quite as large as the first one. So we got 3 zucchinis this morning. And now I'm picking cucumbers. I'm not sure if there are any ready or not. And Magnum is helping me. My bud. So here's a cucumber. These cucumbers are not, ooh, there's a slug on it. Pickling cucumbers, they're just eating cucumbers. You can tell the difference because these have smooth skin, not bumps on them. So now it is time to pick the tomatoes. We have about, I don't know, 6 or 8 varieties. So this one is a Cherokee purple. We've never grown this kind, but I just thought it looked cool, so got it. So here it is. It's ready because it is, the skin, the flesh is squashy. That's how you know a tomato is ready. If it's hard, it is not ready and it won't have near as much flavor. So this is a Roma plant, and the tomatoes tend to ripen on the inside. It's like this one. This one is not ripe yet, but we'll leave it inside for a little bit and then it'll ripen up. This plant is a cherry tomato plant. It's called Sun Sugar. These tomatoes are not red when you pick them. They are kind of a deep gold color. One like this is not ready to pick, but one like this that is turned orange pretty much is ready to pick. So I picked this tomato and I just thought he was funny. He's all wrinkly. He looks like he ran into the tomato cage too. But I just thought it was a funny looking tomato. Okay, so these are all the green beans we picked today. We take the little tail and the stem off. We take them and we snap them into pieces about this size and then pack them into jars, and Mom cans them in the pressure canner, and then we have them for whenever we need them in the winter. So we're going to be at this a while.
Guys, I think that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Remember to hit the like and subscribe button. See ya.